Welcome to this fabulous episode of the Successful Solopreneurs podcast. Today, we are going to hear from Linh Podetti. She was a 19-year-old single mom living on the streets years ago. Fast forward to today, she's the CEO and founder of Outsourcing Angel. And so I'm really excited, Linh, to go through your journey, the mistakes that happened, that what you've learned in hindsight that can help us today in our businesses and lives. Before we get started, is there anything we should know about you to help us get the most out of our episode today? Welcome to the podcast. I hope you enjoy the honest advice and personal stories. I'm Sue Stiles, the CEO of the Successful Solopreneurs School of Business, and I'm here to share hope and possibility so that you can reach the unwavering results you desire. Find the best business resources, advice, and offers at SueStiles.com. And now on with the show.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Sue. Yeah, definitely the other things to know about me. Now I have 3 kids, not a single mom anymore. And the other thing is I now want to be an actor. I started an Asian woman talk show. So not only am I an entrepreneur, I really enjoy, I guess, being a storyteller and really changing people's lives through stories. Yeah.
Well, you had a life that needed to be changed, didn't you? Tell us a little bit about that journey that you went through.
Yeah. So back when I was, I guess even starting from 10 years old, I had to work for my parents. My parents were new migrants from Vietnam, so they had a hard life moving to Australia. Because of that, they kind of forced me into working for them at that age. And not only did I have to work hard, I also, they were very, controlling Asian kind of teaching, and it really kind of, I was rebelling against them. I didn't really like the way they parent me, and I just rebelled, and I ended up running away from home multiple times, led me into the wrong path. I guess I was an angry person, hurt person, trying to find myself in the world. And I ultimately end up having a kid at 19. So I was like a kid having a kid, got kicked out of a home. My parents were really upset, not just upset that I'm having a kid. I wasn't dating a good guy either. So for them, it was just like, it was, what was sad was kind of like they weren't worried about me, they were worried about their pride. It was like, oh my God, you embarrassed me, that kind of sometimes traditional parenting. And so that really it got me into having a kid, but then still haven't found myself till I was 27. Really, I was just going in and out of relationships and just have had such a dramatic life. And finally 10 years ago, which I was 27 or something at the time, I woke up to reality one day and just said, oh my God, maybe I'm the problem. Okay, whatever's happened to me has happened. And, my parents didn't raise me the way I wanted, but I was causing a lot of the other drama in my life as well. And that's when I started to just surrender and said, I need help, God. What do I do here? And life started to change in terms of seeing new opportunities, seeing new learnings. And I just did that. And I ended up starting and succeeding in business, founding love, and now having a great family too.
Well, how many of us have been in a place where we've had to just surrender and say, I don't know what to do now. I've made a mess of things and I'm tired of blaming whatever. And what we've been going through in the pandemic as well. Now, I didn't mention, but you're zooming in here from Australia. Well, in the rest of the world, we're still dealing with hardship and loss of business. So this is a common story. What started to change in you when that happened?
So when I changed into the positive person.
Yes, because that's what I'm hearing. With the surrender comes the hope.
Yeah. So I guess when you surrender, you kind of, because I think sometimes when you think you've got everything, you know how to control everything, you're becoming a bit too arrogant to see anything. But when you kind of let go and go, you know what, I don't know everything. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe everything I thought has been wrong. And maybe whatever someone else who has more success than me have something that I can follow. Right. And so from that moment, it was kind of going, then you can see more things. So if Oprah said something or if Tony Robbins said something, you are now listening. But when you think you know it all, you aren't absorbing any information. And so when they told me to do gratitude journal, I was thinking, I have nothing to be grateful for. But hang on a minute. Let's just follow them anyway because you haven't been right, have you, Lynn? And so then
So,
yeah,
so, sorry, but when you had this shift, I mean, we've talked a little bit before and gotten to know each other. You started becoming an entrepreneur. You started saying, I could run a kind of business, but you weren't successful at first. Tell
no.
us a little bit about what you tried that failed.
Yeah. So I actually started my business even the year before I found myself. So I started an e-commerce business while I was at a corporate job because I was a single mom and it was really hard to manage time with a kid. I really had the desire to start a business. But at that time, I still didn't know I was learning how to start a business, but I had no idea about business, but I still haven't had any idea about personal development. And I was going through a really serious relationship that was very abusive that after breaking up with that guy, so it wasn't the failure in business or anything that woke me up. It was actually a relationship that woke me up. It was a heartbreak. It was like, oh my God, I love this guy. And what happened that it made me think about everything that was going on in my life. And so when I broke up with him, I, worked on myself, but I was also then working on the business that I started. And although that business didn't succeed because I just started because I really needed to start something, I still went on that journey of like discovering, okay, what else can I do? If this didn't work, what else can I do? And that's when I networked and then met people that had the problems that I could solve, which was how do I get marketing done? And I told them that you can use outsourcing because I did that for my first e-commerce business. And when they said, can you help me with that? It turned into a business. And so, so it took me that heartbreak for me to get out of my old self and worked on myself. And then eventually, I think from then on, I fell in love with personal development. And I continue to this day. There's still so much to discover about yourself and life and business.
Yeah, so true. Now, so you always do say, you've got to find the problem that people need the solution to. You've got to find the problem. Tell me a little bit more about that. How did you find the problem, that you're solving now?
Yeah. So my first business was like, I came up with an idea to sell nail polish, but I had no passion. No one asked me for a solution in whatever nail polish they had. I didn't know how to solve that either, but I just did it because I thought I could make money. And even after that business, before I started the agency that made money, I actually tried a lot of different business ideas. Like there was phone numbers that are really, catchy, like consecutive numbers. And I thought, oh, if I buy that and sell it for more expensive, I could make money. But it was kind of just, I'm still focusing on money too much, on kind of like, well, how do I just add a margin and make money versus really thinking of my passion and how to solve the problem. Now, after all that, those failure little ventures, little, like I would say, not even a venture, it's almost like try out a new idea, put out a website and go, nah, doesn't work, not for me. But it was when I networked and met people that said, oh, Lynn, I need to do a website, I need to do this. And I said, and I actually didn't realize I had a business opportunity in front of me. I was saying, oh yeah, I built a website when I was doing my e-commerce business and I got it done really cheap from overseas. You can go to Odessa at the time or Upwork and you can get it done cheap. And I told them the price, I told them everything. And they said, oh, that sounds good, but I don't have time to do it. Can you do it for me? And I was like, oh, okay then. And I just, worked it out. I said yes, and I got it done at a cheaper rate, add some project management time in, and sold it to them. And when I got it done the first time, I was like, oh my God, how come money kind of came so easy in that way? Because it's kind of, I am just solving someone's problem as they're having it right now. And then that client turned into another client. And then it's only when I started making a few $1,000s that I was like, now I need to register a business. I think, I need to pay tax. And so from that moment on, I realized it's not about just starting whatever business that you think of. It's, are you hearing problems? What are you solving? Is there a market for your problem?
That's so interesting. I just got sucked into some scammer. Actually, it's a big name, but click on this video. I'm going to tell you these great things about marketing. And I'm always trying to learn about marketing. And you get this big group call. All it is a sales pitch. And when you're talking about, I think a lot of people want to call themselves an entrepreneur and they just want to find something they could suck everybody into to buy. So they
Wow.
could just sell this and not work, and just be like a rich bitch, right? So,
Mhm.
and when I'm working with solopreneurs, they always seem to have a passion. And that's what I'm hearing from you right now. It seemed to work and come together when you discovered something you loved, you were good at, and you were helping people solve this problem. Does that ring true?
Right. And so it's the sweet spot is when there is a problem in the marketplace, but you have the expertise, like you have industry experience, because it's not just about your passion only. Because I think you might not be able to monetize if you're just focusing on what you like, because what you like might not be what the market want, all the expertise that you have in business. So I would always tell people, okay, what do you enjoy doing in all the jobs that you've ever had in life? What industry were you working in? Because you know that industry so well. Let's say you were in real estate. Well, you know the real estate market really well. And if you somehow combine your love for marketing and understanding of real estate, you will be able to see the opportunity or the weakness that this industry has, and you'll be able to come up with a service that will solve it for them. But the other tip I have for people is always about, I guess, niching and productizing your service so it's scalable too. Because sometimes if you're just selling your time and you're consulting, then I guess it depends on what your goal is. Like my goal was always to build a business that it doesn't rely on me. Um, and if that's the goal, I really need to think of a service that is not rely on my delivery, and be able to, I guess, systemize it and have someone else doing it as well.
So how did you come up with the Outsourcing Angel? This is virtual assistants primarily out of the Philippines. Can you share that story?
Sure. So for a few years, I was running an agency where I was project managing it and working with, like, Filipino staff or people from all over the world. But I was project managing, checking the work, passing on what the client wants and doing that. And I was also saying yes to a lot of things. Like they want a website, sure, because I could find someone to do it. Someone want SEO. The beauty of outsourcing is you can get anyone to do anything, anywhere. But then the downfall to that is you would end up saying yes to everything, and I felt like the model, I was a bottleneck to it because I had to be the one project managing. Then I have to go and find someone just as good as me trying to project manage it all. So, 2015, I thought, okay, how do I change this model so that it's scalable, that it's even cheaper for the clients to pay? Because I don't want them to have to pay me project management time. If I could find them the best person, show them how to work with them effectively, well, they can continue that relationship directly. And we're there to facilitate the payroll, recruitment, any replacement they may need if the VA doesn't work well with them, and create a community for the VA to be engaged and work there and providing support for client. But overall, it's the client and the virtual assistant from the Philippines that work directly, having a great direct relationship as if they're an employee. And it became a very scalable model because now it's really about matching, the VA with the client and being able to just scale it in that way. Yeah.
And there's a philanthropic arm to that too, right?
hmm Yeah. So when I came to the Philippines a year or two into that business, I realized that, oh my God, first I loved my team that I was working with, but then I fell in love with the social impact that my company is doing, which is creating home-based job opportunities for people that are living all around the Philippines, in provinces, poor areas of the Philippines. And not only that, the infrastructure there is just horrible. It takes hours to get to and from work if they're lucky to find work. And they most likely would have to move to the main city, which would cost a lot to live as well. And so I realized that the business itself is already solving a problem. But then I also thought, how do we give back more? And because there are parts of the Philippines that you can't, they're not in the stage of working yet. They just need money and they just need food, shelter, basic survival. And so we're able to partner with one of our team members' cousin, who actually so his story was amazing too. He was a gangster on the street, really naughty. One day found Jesus and, and just changed his life. Now he and his volunteers dedicate their life to trekking up the mountains to remote places that even the government doesn't want to get there because it's too hard to get there. and he does all these feeding programs, and every, he's almost bringing half of his salary that he works during the day to fund this thing. And so we thought this is a great way for us to like do something direct impact. It's not like we're putting money into World Vision where it's like, it might go to admin and go to the organization. It's actually just working with some volunteers who are passionate about this. And every dollar that we give that we could generate, that could go directly to these people. And so it now has become part of what we do. Every year we do a company trip. I personally even go there and meet all the communities there. We watch through videos and photos every single week of activities that we're doing with our money, whether it's feeding or building a fish pond, but it's having people right there to know what these communities want and seeing an impact. Because I mean, it's not like I'm a $1 billion business like Microsoft and Oprah or anything, and yet I feel like I can make a big impact because I guess a small company with doing small part of this community still made a big difference. Yeah.
Yes. And what fulfillment that brings when you're changing, having lived on the streets yourself and not perhaps having even enough food. And I think I heard the Philippines, they're very good with tech, like they're up on tech and very advanced that way. Is that true?
Yeah, and that is why I felt the comfort to stick with the Philippines for now. So even though I'm Vietnamese, people are like, why don't you help Vietnamese? It's just kind of easier for me right now because the Philippines has been years and years experience in digital marketing, online work. They're very good with English. They learn it from day one, through school. So there's less hurdles to jump through compared to other countries. And so right now I'm helping the Philippines and there's still millions of them there, but I would love to inspire more people to start outsourcing, start growing their business, hiring people from developing country. Doesn't have to be the Philippines, but that's my way of eradicating poverty, if it's not just through my business but through everyone else as well.
Yes, absolutely. That's so fulfilling. So I was watching, you have a ton of videos. You also have your own podcast that you host. What's the name of it again?
It was called the Kind Boss podcast, although I'm putting a stop to it for now just to focus on some other projects, but I'm just releasing some of the episodes that was pre-recorded. But yeah, it was called the Kind Boss podcast.
Well, I was watching something this week and you were talking about how anyone can learn anything. And it's all in the books. And I know you have a good book list there too to encourage people to read. Is that primarily how you have learned to run a business and grow a business and market your business through your own reading and research?
Yeah. And I would say when I first started my business and stuff, I think you get so worked into you so get carried away in your business, you forget to read, or you don't realize that reading is what is going to give you the ideas. And I think it wasn't until a few years into it I started to just read again, and I was like, oh my god, like every time I read I can bring in a new idea and my business would shift. And so now I've become a learner, and every day, every week I'll try to make sure I schedule time for reading. And it's different to just listening to podcasts or listening to things on the fly too. It's like, because everyone puts their whole life experience in a book, and so it's quite transformative when you can take time to read a book.
Yeah, I think that's a great reminder. Exact same thing happened to me. I used to read all the time, got busier with work, stopped reading. And then over the pandemic again, hey, I've had some time and renewed my joy and love of reading new ideas all the time. So let me ask you this then. From your experience and what's worked well for you, the one question I always ask on the podcast or try to ask is, if you were talking to a new business owner, a younger solopreneur who's starting out, what would you say is the best way to gain clients?
Okay. So to gain clients to start with, I think if you're already focusing on solving someone's problem, then you will be able to find people with the problem. And to validate your idea is you could try to actually test on them first. Do that project, whether it's free or very discounted, to test on it. But the first thing you want to do is make sure you test it on someone that has money, right? Don't go to someone that doesn't have a business, isn't your ideal client, and trying to do this service for them and they, they're not potential anyway. But when you find the potential client, you solve their problem, you do it for free or do it really cheap, that if you do it well, they will be your first client. Now, if you do that well with your first client, they're going to refer you to other clients. Once you start bringing some money in is when you can start doing some of your own marketing, branding, create videos, content out there, show how you help these clients. So I always try to teach people this organic way because when I first started my e-commerce business, I threw thousands and thousands of dollars into this nail polish and I pretty much ran out of money that I had to do it very lean. So to do it lean, I had to kind of do it in a way that I didn't have to spend any money. Sometimes when you have some savings, you kind of do it the wrong way. You kind of like, I have a great idea. Okay, now I'm going to start marketing myself and do all these. But have you even tested on a real client? Have you actually solved it for them? And so I think the beauty in not having money, it actually forces you to think more lean. And also, either way, even if you had money, always think of as if you didn't have any, and how do you make money first before you reinvest into the business.
I love that advice. And Tony Robbins always says too, it's not resources, it's resourcefulness. If you have an idea and you want to do it and it's good, I'm just starting Like a Boss When the Business Is You reality TV show. I'm not sitting on $1 billion to hire a production company, but it forced me to find some key partners who also have the love for the vision. And they're just bringing such a great culture and energy to the project. And so I love that advice. And I hope if you're listening, you will consider, even if you've been in business for a while, who really has the problem, who needs your product, and do some organic marketing. Pick up the phone, send an email, right? Do some research, read a book.
Yeah, have conversations, network online, but have these Zoom conversations with people. And even if they don't need your service, they will know who might need your service too. So I think it comes down to real human connections and building it that way.
Yeah, that's such a good reminder. So, Lynn, I've enjoyed hearing from you again. I know the listeners have received something. If they want to connect with you or find out more about hiring, maybe they need an admin or marketer that you could help them with, where can they find you?
Yeah, so I have a lot of content on YouTube as well. So if you Google my name, Lynn Podetti, you'll find me there. But definitely on my website, linhpodetti.com, I think it'll make it easy for you. You'll be able to find the various businesses and talk shows that I'm on. But if outsourcing is what you're after, outsourcingangel.com is where you could find more information on VAs.
That's awesome. And we'll have that information in the comments and the description. I hope you enjoyed our episode today. I know I sure did. I hope to see you at our next episode on the Successful Solopreneurs podcast. Bye for now. I've been your host, Sue Stiles, interviewing Lynn Podetti. Thanks, Lynn.
Thank you so much, Sue, for having me.